Hello, everyone. I am back on the Wrestling with Green Pinstripes podcast. This is the first one of 2018. I was planning to do one earlier regarding the New Japan Wrestle Kingdom pay-per-view, but unfortunately I got sick earlier, so there won't be a review. Maybe a retrospective review at the end of the year, or close to next year when Wrestle Kingdom comes around next January. But for tonight, I'll be doing the RAW25 reviews. So, as I'm recording this right now, it is before 8 o'clock at this time. So, I will give my thoughts on the RAW25 review as during the commercial breaks of each segment. So, stay tuned. It's coming up next. Alright, so Monday Night Raw kicked off at the Manhattan Center where JR and King welcomed everybody to Monday Night Raw who's watching at home. And if you don't already know, Manhattan Center was the venue where the first ever Monday Night Raw took place. So, but because it was a quick intro at the Manhattan Center, it was a quick cutaway to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. So, and I know that in the Barclays Center, the announce stage is at ringside, where Cole, Corey Graves, and Booker T are at ringside instead of the usual stage side, because it is a throwback night to the original times. And I know that Raw Commissioner Stephanie McMahon and SmackDown Commissioner Shane McMahon were kicking off and welcome everybody to Monday Night Raw, and they were all saying like it's been 25 years and let's celebrate the moment. They even included Vince McMahon to come out and celebrate. And I know the two kids gave Vince a plaque, and of course he's going to be trolling and healing it all up, saying how bad a plaque is. And then out comes Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold! I wish JR was doing that scream via satellite from the Manhattan Center, because hearing Stone Cold come out and without any commentary, it felt weird. So, like, they should have done that. That was the only issue I had with the opening of Raw, but everything else was pretty good, though, because Stone Cold Steve Austin, even though he didn't really say anything at all, I mean, like, he pretty much stunned Shane twice. He's so nice, he gave Shane McMahon a stunner twice. And of course, Vince tried to excuse himself of getting out of a stunner, but that failed miserably. So, that was the opening segment, and as the podcast goes along, I will talk more information, what happens on each commercial break while recording this. So, here it goes. Back from the commercial break, they started the 8-woman tag match, which on one side is Asuka, Bayley, Mickie James, and Sasha Banks. On the other side is Nia Jax, Absolutions, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville, and Alicia Fox. Now, here's the issue. There's going to be a Royal Rumble, and I'm not invested in any of the women, because on both brands, Raw and SmackDown, there have been tag team matches. I was like, is there any, like, individual character development? I mean, like, I've said this back at Clash of Champions, that the women's division needs to get their act together. Apparently, nobody listened to my podcast from Clash of Champions, and now both the brand's women's divisions are in disarray. Raw is considered lesser of two evils, but rooting for lesser of two evils is a very bad idea. That's just asking for more evil. You want the greater good. And I know NXT is not exactly perfect, but they are somewhat developing their individual characters. Somewhat. So, that's the one major issue that I have with this 8-woman tag team match, is that it's just tag team matches these past few weeks prior to Raw 25. So, I mean, like, what's going on? That's my issue. It was like, why is this tag team match just keep happening? I was like, is there going to be any individual characters after the Rumble? I really hope so, because I'm losing my patience with this bullshit. I really am. Now, I know that after the match, there was a backstage segment between Raw General Manager Kurt Angle and Jonathan Coachman, Harvey Whippleman, Brooklyn Brawler, Teddy Long, Brother Love, and the Boogeyman. I thought it was kind of funny, but I think it was a bit rushed. I think the issue is that they invited too many people, but there's not enough time to bring everybody in because of a 3-hour window that Monday Night Raw has, and you have to keep in mind that they are in commercials. But I know that they'll do the best they can. There has been a few downsides, but so far it's all right. So let's see what the second and third hour brings to the table. After the commercial break, Raw segued to the Manhattan Center in Midtown Manhattan, and where JR and King were at ringside calling the action that's going on, whatever was there. And I know that Undertaker appeared heading to the ring, which felt a little weird because there was no special effects. And to be fair, I did not watch Raw back in the Manhattan Center era, so it's really hard to tell what really happened, but it definitely felt weird to see The Undertaker without any special effects making his entrance. And it was definitely nice to see him back, but it kind of felt a little short. All he was just doing is talking about what memories that he had on Monday Night Raw and WWE, and then he said that it is time to rest in peace, which is kind of hinting retirement, but is really hard to say. So that's that. It's definitely a nice atmosphere where they did the retro ring of where they blue mats and the red, white, and blue ropes, and the pretty much replicated the entire 93 Manhattan Center set. So that was pretty nice, but felt short. I wished that segment could have gone on longer. It felt a little too short. And plus, doing 2 venues in one night, going back and forth, I don't know how this is going to go for the rest of the show. So I'll tell you all about it when I reach the end of the podcast, how this all goes. I'll give you a final grade on that. After the commercial break, there was a backstage segment between Heath Slater, Rhino, and the APA. And of course, Ted DiBiase makes a cameo at the end of the segment, and then before the Intercontinental title match, there was a mini segment where they had past general managers such as John Laurinaitis, William Regal, and Eric Bischoff, and of course the SmackDown general manager Daniel Bryan makes an appearance doing the yes chant, and of course Miz makes his entrance while Daniel Bryan is heading backstage, and they had a brief stare down. So things could get pretty interesting. That's for sure. Up next, it was the Intercontinental Championship, where Roman Reigns defends the title against The Miz. It wasn't exactly a great match, but the crowd was definitely into it. I could definitely tell the crowd was into it. It felt like it was fun, but not a 5-star match, but you could tell the crowd was having a lot of fun, and it was pretty much Crash Booking 101 on that Intercontinental title match. And at the end of the day, The Miz is your 8-time Intercontinental Champion. So that is that, and let's see how the rest of the show goes. After the commercial break, there was even a continuation of the segment of the poker game between Slater and Rhino and APA, only this time with more people, with the Usos joining in, and surprisingly, MVP and Jeff Hardy. This, I have a little bit of a gripe, because you had Jeff Hardy and MVP return in a backstage segment? In a backstage segment, you have them return in a backstage segment. Even more so, I'm a little irritated about it regarding MVP because this is his first time back in the WWE since 2010. And you had him return in a meaningless segment? Seriously? But the next segment was a little fun because it was the Peep Show with Christian. Edge, his former tag team partner, is not on Raw tonight because he is out of the country. But Christian hosted the Peep Show with the Raw Tag Champions, Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins. And my God, Brooklyn hates Jason Jordan so much. They literally hate him. I mean, they couldn't even let him speak. It's that bad that when Sheamus and Cesaro came out, they were cheered and they even started a "You Suck" song, which I thought that was pretty funny. And of course, the last segment was a backstage segment between the Raw Women's Champion Alexa Bliss and SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair, which was nice to see because she did start her main roster career on Monday Night Raw. And very nice to see Ric Flair after what he's been through with his health scare. So, yes, he did return on SmackDown on WWE television, but this is a Raw review, so it was pretty nice to see Ric Flair back on Monday Night Raw after what he's been through. So, it was pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. After the commercial break, there was still a continuation of the poker game scene, which Heath Slater lost to Natalia in that game of poker with all the superstars backstage. And the good news is that there is a match at the Manhattan Center, which features Bray Wyatt versus Woken Matt Hardy. So, what does that tell me? Woken Matt Hardy gets a match at the Manhattan Center. Jeff Hardy, on the other hand, is in a meaningless backstage segment, so it looks like Brother Nero is going to be obsolete. But on a serious note, it is pretty nice to hear Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler calling a Woken Matt Hardy match. I never imagined that this would be possible, so kudos to WWE on that. And I know that match is currently in a commercial break as I am recording this, so I will tell you the full details on this after this cut. Back from the commercial break, Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy still went at it, and 5 minutes later, the match ended with Bray Wyatt getting the win. So, what does that ask? Is Woken Matt a failure experiment? It's really hard to tell, so but I know that there are some who don't like the Woken Matt Hardy thing, so we'll see what happens. So that was that. And then they went back to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and they introduced all the women of the past, such as the Bella Twins, Michelle McCool, Kelly Kelly, Lillian Garcia, Maria Kanellis, Maurice, even though Maurice and Maria Kanellis are under contract with the current superstars, but those two are on maternity leave, but they did make a one-night appearance. But it was still pretty nice, and including Trish Stratus as well. So it was all good. Nostalgia. After the break, Elias did have a segment with Chris Jericho, fresh coming off a match against Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom. So it was pretty cool that Chris Jericho worked a New Japan show and a WWE show, which I thought was pretty cool, which led to Elias having an in-ring segment where he was playing his guitar, and then John Cena would interrupt to seek revenge. Obviously, that did not work out. And the rest of Raw, by the third hour, was pretty much just coasting along, though. I mean, there was a reason why I didn't really came back to record every single thing after the break, because, to be honest, the third hour of Monday Night Raw for the 25th anniversary show was pretty underwhelming. But I will tell you who did return. The Dudleys did return for the interrupting a match between Titus Worldwide and Heath Slater and Rhino. And DX definitely returned at the Manhattan Center, and they had a pretty cool moment with the Balor Club. I do feel bad for the Revival because they pretty much got ascensioned. If you don't know what I mean, check the Monday Night Raw in 2015 on the WWE Network. You will get your answer over there. But I thought that was a pretty cool moment, and the one issue that I had was that, like, the Manhattan Center for the televised show, it didn't really have a lot of segments. So what I would do if I was Triple H is that I would schedule NXT tapings over there. Restore the goodwill for the fans, because from what I heard, the fans at the Manhattan Center were not very happy. They had to watch most of the show on a television screen over there. So I was like, if they wanted to do that, they could have stayed home. So it definitely felt a bit underwhelming that only 2 segments were at the Manhattan Center. The rest of it was at the Barclays Center. And I mean, like, it was pretty like nice that like there was a segment to build up for the Rumble a little bit, but it still fell flat because the rest of the third hour of Raw's 25th anniversary was extremely underwhelming, though, to say the least. It was extremely underwhelming, so that's why I'm not really talking about it that much, because the best stuff happened in the first hour. Sort of. I meant like for those who had low expectations, you might have liked the show. For those who had high expectations, such as me, you probably did not like the show. So here's my final grade. I am going to give it a C+ for Raw 25. I did not think it was a great show. It was okay. Nostalgia was nice, but I thought that Raw 1000 back in 2012 was much better. It flowed even, and this one, it felt too much like a nostalgia trip. I was like, all those legends, they were just like, hello, bye-bye. I was like, at least you could at least try to put the new talent over, and that's what DX did. They helped put a Balor Club over, so that was one credit, but I thought it felt a little underwhelming. What did you thought of Raw's 25th anniversary show? Let me know in the comment section below. And so I'm only doing this Raw 25 review because it was a special episode. So I generally do not do weekly Raw podcasts, but this was the exception. However, I will do a Raw review next week because there is the Royal Rumble event going on. So I will do that. So there will be a podcast on Saturday for the NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. For Sunday night, Monday morning, it will be the Royal Rumble review. And for the I will also review the Raw and SmackDown after the Royal Rumble. And I may do the review for the Super Saiyan Showdown. If you have not heard of it, the Super Saiyan Showdown is a staged live stream of a video game event that's going on where the voice actors of Dragon Ball, Goku and Vegeta, are going to be live streaming and playing the game. So it happens to be on Royal Rumble weekend because it is on a Friday, so this weekend is set to be pretty good, but I mean, like, today it felt a bit underwhelming. They built up so extremely high expectations, and it did not really match that much. But I mean, the one cool thing that I did like was Mean Gene Okerlund interviewing AJ Styles, and AJ Styles doing a Hulk Hogan impression, saying, "Oh, let me tell you something, Mean Gene." Okay, that did not sound like Hulk Hogan. That sounded like Macho Man Randy Savage. But to be fair, I did recover from an illness, thing, a cold or flu. So I'm still still recovering. So that's why my Hulk Hogan impression didn't sound right, and it sounded more like Macho Man Randy Savage. But I could do a Macho Man Randy Savage right now. Ooh yeah, dig it. All right, I'll see you next time.